This is the Content Area Lesson Plan by Corinne Hansen and Christina Wallace. For the lesson today, we will be looking at U.S. history for grade 10. It will be as part of a unit on the Civil War. The text we will be using is 5 myths about why the South seceded. The content standards we will be looking at are a history standard for 9 through 12, where students are able to explain causes, events, and the effects of the Civil War. We will also be looking at a reading standard where students are able to cite textual evidence to support their analysis of the text that they will be reading. We will also be using a writing standard where students produce clear and coherent writing that makes sense with a development, organization, and style that is appropriate to the task at hand. For the learning outcomes, students will be able to list at least 3 reasons why the South may have had a legitimate claim to succession. For the assessment, the students will be representing their respective state and explaining in a court 3 justified reasons for seceding from the nation. For differentiation, we will be using a process differentiation where students with IEPs will be paired with students whom are willing and able to assist and to take the lead in the project in order to help out those students that are on IEPs.
Read a few quotes. I'm going to read a couple quotes found in newspapers about a certain president, and I want to see if you can guess who this is. And these were newspapers during the time this president lived. He's an idiot and the original gorilla. He's timid, vacillating, and inefficient. There is a strong feeling among those who have seen Mr. Lincoln in the way of business that he lacks practical talent for his important place. It is thought that there should be more readiness and also more capacity for government. He is weak as water. And I accidentally just told you who it was, but it is President Lincoln. Now, we're going into the Civil War, so we'll be talking a lot about President Lincoln. But one of the things I want to talk about today is the reasons for the Civil War. Now, President Lincoln's main priority was to keep the Union together. He even said that if he could keep the Union together and not free a single slave, he would do it. So if the Civil War wasn't about slavery, what are some of the other reasons it was about? So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you split up into groups of 4, and there will be 2 of you, 2 groups of 5, and I'm going to give you each group a state. You're going to work in groups and give 3 reasons to why your state chose to secede from the nation, or why you think your state has a valid reason for seceding. I'm also going to give you a little bit of background about your state, and then have you read this article about some of the general reasons for the South during that time. And then you'll go before a court, which is me, and you'll defend your reasons. If there's time permitting, I want to test your knowledge a little bit more on the states and what you know. And so if you could just color in this map, blue for the South, red for the North, gray for the states that are on the fence. And then in closure, I have a few critical thinking questions for you. If you lived in the North and you were required to send slaves back to the South that you found, would you do it if it was the law? And it actually was the law to send slaves back if you found them, and you could actually go to prison if you didn't do it. So would you do it? Would you obey the law, or would you do what you think was right? Or do you think that was right? And then on self-reflection, I have a few questions I'd like each student to answer. What concepts from today's class did you find difficult to understand? Another example, what are 2 things you learned in today's class? And on a scale of from 1, not confident, to 4, very confident, how confident are you in the 2 things you just wrote down are correct?